You understand what I'm saying? This time in the form of Herod, which was nothing but a Roman puppet. That's all Herod was.
Yes, sir.
So that's why it said with the 7 heads and the 10 horns, because it's dealing with Rome here, and Herod was just a Roman puppet. So he tried to cut him off at his birth. But then if he was not allowed to complete his lifetime as a mortal being and then and live a perfect life and die as a perfect sacrifice, then the creation was cut off. Because that meant if Jesus didn't die and didn't live a perfect life and die as a perfect sacrifice, that meant that everybody would be lost.
Sir.
Because that meant that everybody would have had to die for their own sins, right? Because everybody done sinned from Adam down to the last being that came on this earth. So now he tried to cut him off then. Tried to cut him off before he had a chance. After he became an adult and lived a life. Tried to cut him off before he was able to live a perfect life and die as the perfect sacrifice. But now he even tried to cut him off at his birth. What verse are we?
Verse 5.
Go ahead and read.
And she brought forth a man-child.
Now who is this man-child? That is Jesus. Go ahead and read.
Who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron.
Who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. That's what he's going to do at his return. He's going to rule all nations with a rod of iron. That's how he's going to have to rule them, with a rod of iron. That's the only thing that man understands. He don't understand this compromise, reasoning. You can't reason with this being that's called a human being. You can't reason. They don't get reasoning. You understand what I'm saying? Only thing they understand is the rod. With a rod, I mean, every time you think you want to do something wrong, there's a being standing right there. Man, that's not the way. This is the way. Walk therein.
Yes, sir.
Because this world will be ruled over by God. The Lord will be here, and it will be ruled over by spirit beings. Because all of the people that's going to rule with the Lord, he's going to change them from mortal beings to immortal beings, from natural beings to spirit beings. They'll become just like God. Go ahead and finish that verse.
And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne.
And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne, and that is where he is now. He's sitting at the right hand, waiting to return to establish his kingdom. Now, let's go to Revelation chapter 13, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. Revelation 13, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. 13 and 1. Show you where this Roman Empire got her power, seat, and great authority from. 13 and 1. Go ahead and read, brother.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Now this beast that you see, that he saw rising up out of the sea, that is the Roman Empire. And it even came with a great religion, and you know this great religion that came with the Roman Empire. Still very much a part of the Roman Empire. You say, oh man, don't you know the Roman Empire's gone? No, it ain't gone. It's just in the bottomless pit right now. That is all. It ain't gone. Because it's got to be here when the Lord returns. The Lord showed Daniel that in the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had in the 2nd chapter of Daniel. In the days of these kings, in the days of that last kingdom, which is the Roman Empire, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. When that stone that represents Jesus and his kingdom smote that image up on his toes and became a great mountain, and what did he say? Fill the entire earth. Yes, he's going to return and establish a kingdom on this earth. No, you are not going up yonder. Like the sister sang in the song, you are going over yonder.
Sir.
That's where your God's going to be, over yonder. And the Bible is just full of it. Even put it in the Lord's Prayer. If you don't remember nothing else, remember the Lord's Prayer, and you will know thy kingdom come, not I go.
Sir.
What verse are we?
Middle of verse 13.
Go ahead and read.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Wait a minute now. He said, 13 and 1. Having 7, you at the middle of Verse 1, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Go ahead and read.
And upon his horns 10 crowns.
Go ahead.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Now this is Rome that you're dealing with here. And even the religion that came with her. Go ahead and read on.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. And his feet were as the feet of a bear.
Go ahead and read.
And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
And
the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Notice where he got his power, seat, and great authority from. The dragon. Who is the dragon? That is the devil. That old serpent called Satan and the devil. That is where he got his power, his seat, and his great authority from. And all of that stuff that you have been given, that you have been told is Christianity, that's where it really came from. I'm not talking about Bible Christianity. I'm talking about this modern day Christianity. That is what I'm talking about. Bible Christianity is valid. That other brand of Christianity, that came from the dragon. That's where it came from. Rome was the one that handed it to you, but who handed it to her? Satan handed it to her.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother.
Now, skip down. I'm going to show you a little bit of it. Skip down to verse 11. Go ahead and read.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Wait a minute. He said, you know who this other beast here is? That is Rome. That is Rome with her religion this time. You know, when she came the first time, you know, she didn't really have a religion. You know, it was like the emperor. They were the god and everything. They was the religious figure and everything. But then Rome fell in 476 A.D., but Rome had to be around at the coming of the Lord. That means that you needed to have a revival of the Roman Empire. And when she come back, this time instead of 1 ruler, like the emperor, she will have 2 rulers, a secular ruler and a religious ruler. That's what these 2 horns represent. But notice what it said. She spake like a dragon. In other words, who is the dragon? That is the devil. Sure. So the message that you get, it is really the message from the devil. It is not the message from God. It is the message from the dragon. Go ahead and read on.
And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him.
Well, it's a exercise all the power of the first beast before him. Go ahead and read on.
And causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
One day we'll explain all of this even clear. Go ahead and read on.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Now notice here, and this is the religious head, because you had the 2 horns. One represented the religious head, other represented the secular head, and it's the religious head that did the great miracles, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven in the sight of men. Go ahead and read on.
And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles.
And what did he do? He deceived those that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles. In other words, we are dealing with what will be going on the earth here. And he deceived those that dwell on the earth by these miracles that he had power to do. Go ahead and finish that.
Which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
Go ahead.
Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live.
Go ahead, read that next verse.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast.
Wait a minute, it said he had power even to give life unto the image of the beast. Now you look up there and you see an image start talking to you. And some man done stood there and claimed that he is God, because that is what he going to do.
Sir.
And then he tell that image, say something to him. And that image started talking. You can say, oh yeah, this got to be God here. Go ahead and read on.
That the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Now, we're not going to bother reading anymore, but I just want you to understand who these 2 are that we are dealing with here. Let's go over to Revelation 19, and we'll begin reading at verse 11, and this is how the Lord going to deal on them at his coming. Revelation chapter 19, and we'll begin reading at verse 11. 19 and 11. 19 and 11. Now this is the Lord at his coming here, and this is how he going to deal on these 2 beings. Because that's what we were dealing with, those two beings here that will be the head of the Roman Empire, the secular ruler and the religious ruler. And it is the religious ruler that really calls the shots. Always have since he came into existence. Just go and read about the Holy Roman Empire, because once after Rome fell in 476 AD, when they started to try to revive it, it was known not just as the Roman Empire anymore, it was the Holy Roman Empire now. Because now you got this religious government that is a part of the secular government. And it is the religious government that runs the thing. Start reading at Revelation 19 and 11. Go ahead and read, brother.
And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
This is Jesus we're reading about. Go ahead and read.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
Go ahead.
And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth the sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations.
You know, they never tell you about this. You know, they always talking about the coming of the Lord, the coming of the Lord. But they don't never tell you about this. You know, they got the Lord one day just going to pop them heavens open and gonna come and snatch a bunch of people and take them back to heaven someplace in what they call a rapture that the Bible does not support. But they don't never tell you about he going to come, he going to judge, he going to make war, and the nation's going to fight against him, and he going to destroy the armies. You don't never hear about that. But yet, that is what the book teaches. Old Testament and New Testament. Go ahead and read some more.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
And yes, when he returns, he will rule them with a rod of iron. What verse are we?
Middle of verse 15.
Go ahead and read.
And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God.
Go ahead and read.
And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Now I want you to skip down to verse 19, and I'm going to show you what he's going to do with those two beings, those two horns, because horns represents rulers. And I'm going to show you what he's going to do with them. Skip down to verse 19. Now remember, one of them did the miracles in the sight of men, didn't he? Start reading at verse 19. I'm going to show you which one it was that did the miracles. Go ahead and read.
And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
Now this is the secular ruler here. Go ahead and read.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him.
And with him the false prophet. It said, when you said false prophet, that implies that you are dealing with some religious figure, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now he said the beast, and with him the false prophet that worked the miracles. Go ahead and finish that up.
With which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image.
Now, in which he had deceived them that received the mark of the beast and that had worshipped his image. Go ahead and read on.
These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Now that is how the Lord dealt with them. Now let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. We're going to look at this religious figure again. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. And again, this is dealing with the coming of the Lord. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. Now remember, you know, where did this organization get its power from? It got it from Satan, it said, didn't it?
Sir.
And then you had this religious figure that was doing all these miracles, that with them he deceived those that had received the